second grade, it's Miss Herring again with our third reading lesson. So today we're going to be working on your reading packet on lesson 13. It's called Author's Purpose, and it starts on page 202. So if you want to work along with me, you're going to need two supplies. You're going to need your reading packet, and you're going to need a pencil or something to write with. So I'm going to go ahead and read the title of our lesson. This lesson is called Author's Purpose. And I just wanted to remind you that the author's purpose is why the author is writing a story or a book or an article. What does the author want you to know? And so we remember that using this acronym, P-I-E, for PIE, which stands for persuade, inform, entertain. So those are the main three reasons why an author would want to write a story. They want to persuade you, make you do something or make you think something. They want to inform you or give you information. Or they want to entertain you. They want to tell you a story. They want to make you feel emotions. So we're going to go ahead and start. And instead of starting with the first paragraph on page 202, we're going to skip that and also skip the chart on page 203 because I think you guys can do that on your own. And we're going to just go ahead and start on the actual story. It's on page 204 and it's called George Crumb, Inventor. So I'm going to read the story to us first, and then we're going to fill in the chart on the next page, which looks just like what I have on my board here. Okay, I'm on page 204. George Crumb, Inventor by Otto Klein. You may love crunchy, salty potato chips, but do you know who first made them? A man named George Crumb did in 1853. He invented them by accident. Crumb was a cook who made delicious French fries, but one day a man complained. He said the fries were too thick. Crumb made the fries thinner, but the fussy man still wasn't happy. So Crumb made the fries so thin and crunchy that the man couldn't eat them with his fork. Instead of being angry, the man loved them. Other people who tried Crumb's treat also loved them. A few years later, George Crumb opened his own restaurant. A big basket of potato chips was placed on every table. In 1895, the first potato chip factory was built. Now, people could buy potato chips at the store and put them on their own tables. Okay, so now that we've read this story, we're going to go down to the chart on page 205. It says, what is the author's main purpose for writing this passage? Complete the chart to help you understand the main purpose of the passage. So the chart has 3 columns, and I kind of just shortened the titles on mine a little bit. So the first column says, what is the topic of the passage? So the topic is, what is the passage mostly about? Sometimes we talk about it like the main idea. So what is the passage or the story or the paragraph mostly about? And to figure that out, we can look at some specific things. So what we're going to do is go back to the story and look for some specific things and just jot them down under topic and see if we can figure out the topic or the main idea of the passage. So one of the first things you can look at to figure out the main idea is the title. So when I go back, I see that the title of my story is George Crumb, Inventor. So I think some of those words would be really good to write down under topic because the title tells you what the story is going to be about. So that could be really helpful. So I'm going to write George Crumb, and then I'll write inventor. So those are 2 important points. Let's see if we can find some other things. So after you read the title, another good place to look is at the illustration or the picture. So when I look on page 204, I see a picture of some potato chips. So I know that those were important to the story because that's what George Crumb invented. He invented the potato chips. So I'm going to jot that down too. Potato chips. Okay. Now that I've looked in those places, I can also look in the topic sentence or the topic paragraph. So when I'm finding the topic or what the story is mostly about, you want to look for that topic sentence or topic paragraph. So the topic sentence is usually either the first sentence in a story or the last sentence in a story. When I'm looking at a story as long as this one, though, this story has 6 paragraphs. Instead of looking at the first sentence and the last sentence, it can also be really helpful to read the first paragraph and the last paragraph. So since this story is kind of long, that's what I'm going to do to try to find my topic. So the first paragraph says, "You may love crunchy, salty potato chips." Potato chips, got that. "But do you know who first made them? A man named George Crumb did." George Crumb, got that. "He invented them by accident." And we also have inventor, which is pretty much the same as invented. So I think we have all of our points from the first paragraph. So now I'm going to go down to my last paragraph and just see if there's any other important information. It says, "In 1895, the first potato chip factory was built." Oh, got potato chips again. "Now, people could buy potato chips at the store and put them on their own tables." So I'm kind of gathering that this story is going to be about George Crumb inventing potato chips. The last thing that I can check just to make sure I'm not missing anything is, do I have any repeating words? So kind of just like scan really quickly through the story, and do you see any words that you see over and over again? Right off the bat, I see potato chips, but I've already got that. I see French fries a few times. So let me write that down. I'll just write fries. I see crumb, but I already have that, George Crumb. And that's pretty much it. So now I can take these words that I found and put them together to make one sentence that tells my topic or the main idea. So just looking at this, I'm going to say George Crumb invented, well, he invented potato chips, not fries, but he used the fries to invent them. So that's kind of important, but I don't think I'm going to put that in my topic because the whole story wasn't about fries. It was about inventing potato chips. So I'm going to erase that and say my topic sentence would just be George Crumb invented potato chips. So instead of putting it as just words, I'm going to go ahead and put that into one complete sentence. This story is telling me that he invented them, but it's also telling me how he invented them. So I'm going to say that my topic is how George Crumb invented potato chips, and then put my period. Okay, now on your paper, the next column says, what does the author tell us about the topic? And really that's just asking you for the details. So when you're thinking about details, think about those questions that we talked about last week: who, what, when, where, why, how, to get details about the story. So just start at the beginning. Who invented the potato chips? We know that George Crumb did that, but we've already got that in our topic sentence, so I'm not going to write it 2 times. The next question, let's see, who, what? So what did he invent? He invented potato chips, but again, I've kind of already written that down. So who, what, when? Oh, that's a good one. When did he invent them? When I go back into my story, I see that George Crumb invented the potato chip in 1853. So I can add that to my details. 1853 is when he invented them. So we did who, what, when, where. Where did he invent them? Well, I'm going to look back in my story. It says that he invented them by accident at a restaurant where he was cooking, but it doesn't really tell me where that was, so I could just put at a restaurant. We don't know where the restaurant is. Okay. Now, who, what, when, where, why? So why did he invent the potato chips? He invented them because his customer was complaining that his fries were too thick. So he wanted to make them thinner. So I could say he invented them because a customer complained that his fries were too thick And then how did he invent them? Well, he was complaining because they were too thick, so he cut them even thinner. So I don't kind of ran out of room, but if you have room, you can write that he cut the fries even thinner. All right, now our last column is talking about the author's purpose. So why did the author write this story about George Crumb inventing potato chips? So let's look down at our 3 words: persuade, inform, and entertain. So is the author trying to persuade us to like potato chips? I wouldn't really say so. He does say once or twice that people like potato chips and that potato chips are good, but the majority of the story is not telling me to like potato chips. It's not telling me why I should like them. It's more so telling me how they were invented. So the next word is inform. Is it giving me information? Yes, it's telling me who invented the potato chips, how he invented them, what year he invented them. That's all factual information that tells me how the potato chips were invented. So he is informing me. Let's look at the last word, entertain. Is he telling me a story? I mean, he kind of tells me a little bit about George Crumb and about what the customer was like and about how people like potato chips, but mostly he was just telling me the facts. He was telling me what happened when the potato chips were invented. So I'm going to go with inform. So the author's purpose was to inform the reader, me, how potato chips were invented. So inform the reader about how potato chips were invented. All right, so that ends our first chart, and if you will follow along with what we did here, you can fill out the other chart on page 203 by yourself and then continue on with the rest of your stories. Hope you guys are having a great week, and we'll see you soon.